Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. This is the morning warm-up. Would you warm up with me? Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. One more time. Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Fantastic. Anyone born in June here? Yes. Okay. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. How about June, July, August?
October.
Yes, right. Yes. Which rhymes with August. Yes, okay. June, July, and August. One more time. Great. You shall be with me, group 1. Anyone who I did not call will be in group 2, okay? And we're going to start off, because it's our birthday season. Morning has come. And then, just after that, group 2, follow along. Morning has come. You ready? Yeah, great. 1, 2, 3. Morning has come. Go ahead. Night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Morning has come. Night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. One more time. Morning has come. One more time. Night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Welcome the day. We rise. Rise. Say it with me. We rise. Come. We rise. You know what I just figured out? This is a great time for, hold on. Buddy, you're born, make a big noise, be a big man someday. Yeah, this is the perfect time for that. Here we go. We rise. 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 And the last one goes like this. Rise. The whole thing. We rise. may it be.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today we gather in sacred space where love guides us and service defines us, and to reflect on how ordinary people can create extraordinary things, extraordinary change. We explore the stories of individuals and communities who, through courage and compassion, have made a significant impact. Through beauty, singing, and laughter, we find ways to let the experience of life move through us, through our bodies, to hold many stories at once and as one, and to love ourselves with care and compassion. And so as we arrive here today, let's say a meaningful hello to one another. And I'm going to invite you to turn to a partner, turn to somebody sitting nearby. You may know them well, you may not know them at all. That's okay. And we're going to say a meaningful hello. I'm going to give you some instructions, but first just find a person. And I want you to look at the person. Oh, you are so good. You're doing it on your own. So when you find your person, I want you to take a moment, and I'm going to say some words. So find your person. You did a great job with that. I'm going to say some words, and then I want you to repeat to your partner the words that I say. And so I want you to look them look close to them, look to their heart. That might be their eyes, it might be around them. And repeat, if I didn't belong to you, I wouldn't be here today. If you didn't belong to me, you wouldn't have come. I am tied to you. And you are tied to me. My heart and your heart are very old friends. And now I want you to find a new partner. You know where this is going. I love that I see people moving to find a new partner. This is so good. And here are the words you're going to say to each other. You can repeat. If I didn't belong to you, I wouldn't be here today. If you didn't belong to me, you wouldn't have come. I'm tied to you. And you are tied to me. Your heart and my heart are very old friends. That's a practice that I learned from Ruth King, Insight meditation teacher. And the first time I did that practice, I just felt a softening, and it made saying a hello a meaningful experience and not a passive, functional one. And so when we recognize our old links to the people around us, we can take a moment to also center ourselves. We have this 3-breath practice. So will you breathe with me? Will you notice that breathing in lets us fill our lungs with a spirit of love? and that we breathe out, we can let our minds open to new possibilities. I invite you now to let us listen for the peace which hope gives. We can hear singing in our own breath, the music of our own breath, as we take a pause and engage in our 3 meaningful breaths together. Love and insight, new wisdom and old truths, all of these await us now, in the places we've always found them, in places we've never thought to look. May our senses awaken, our hearts open to give, receive, and grow. And at this moment, I invite Jen, our chalice lighter, to come forward. She has many roles here. Other duties as assigned.
So true.
And as the flame is lit, let us together recite the words of our covenant, the words we use to remind us of our commitment to this community of love and its people. Together, let us say, love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to love one another. May this light inspire us and our stories, lead us to discover the call of love and answer in its many ways we live. As we honor the memories and experiences that shape us, may this time make a difference in each of us that changes the world for better and for good.
It all started with a phone call. It was Sunday evening in January of 1939. A leader from the American Unitarian Association was on the line calling for the Reverend Waitstill Sharp and his wife Martha. He was calling with an invitation. Could you travel to Prague to lead an emergency relief mission that was described to them as the first intervention against evil undertaken by the denomination? Let's see Waitstill and Martha. We have to remember it was a deeply isolationist period in American history, a time when people were just wanting to tend to themselves, their lives, their close circles. They didn't, on the whole, want to get involved, didn't really want to even know what was going on with the refugee crisis in Europe. They didn't necessarily know the details or want to, that Jews and other folks who were named as undesirable were being expelled at best, murdered at worst in Nazi-occupied territories. The flow of refugees to Prague's Unitarian Church, the church we heard about just last week, the flood of refugees was increasing as Jews and political dissidents and intellectuals and others who were being targeted made their way through. Reverend Sharp had a question for his caller. How many other people have you called before me? He wanted to know. 17. With their 2 young children at home, ages 3 and 6, the Sharps thought about how they might respond. Close friends and members of the congregation offered to care for their kids, and they said yes. They left for Europe in February of 1939. Let's see that. At first, their work in Prague included setting up a network of volunteers, a way of creating, sometimes falsifying travel documents, offering education or employment for the refugees. But the situation there just kept getting worse and worse. And when it became clear that the Nazis were coming for the Sharps, Instead of deciding to return home, they burned all their records and found a way to stay. When their office was raided on that very day, they continued with all kinds of creativity, using their power as Americans to continue to help others escape in some pretty amazing ways. Martha used her American passport over and over to get people safely through checkpoints. Waitstill arranged sometimes for people to be transported from the morgue onto trains, but they were not dead. Finally, when their arrest was imminent, they decided to sail for home. On their way home, on their journey across the ocean from Europe back to New York, World War II officially began. And Martha later recalled that after returning home, it was so stunning to be here. We were back in another world, she said. Love, children's arms, plentiful food. And the only thing that seemed to concern Americans that September was which team was going to win the World Series. Martha and Waitstill were home there in Wellesley with their kids for several months before another call came in, this time from the president of the American Unitarian Association in May of 1940. Would they return to Europe, a land now largely under Nazi occupation, and work with the newly formed Unitarian Service Committee to continue to help people to flee, to provide aid to refugees? They said yes again. Let's see the picture of their aid station. They smuggled people out over and over. They worked with the bureaucracy of the U.S. to try and get it to be possible for Jewish children to come to the United States. And Martha accompanied one group of Jewish children personally across the ocean to safety. Let's see them. In 2006, Israel's Yad Vashem honored Martha and Waitstill Sharp as one of the righteous among nations. Together with the Unitarian Service Committee, the Sharps had helped over 2,000 children and adults find safety and survival. It was their daughter that ended up receiving the award on their behalf, and she said they would simply be baffled by the publicity and by the recognition. They said over and over when they were still alive, we were only doing what any ordinary person would do. We did what anyone would have done in our place, they said. I bring that to us today because this is the statement that's been working on me over the last few weeks, and I hope now it's working on you too. We just did what any ordinary person would do. We did what anyone would have done in our place. The world was full of ordinary people in 1939 and through World War II. Some resisted the calls of injustice. Some worked individually and collectively. I wonder, how do we make it true, this statement of the Sharps, that this is what any ordinary person would do?
Hear these words from the poet Naomi Shihab Nye, the daughter of a Palestinian refugee and an American of German descent who spent much of her adolescence in Jerusalem. Because our stories live through our words, even when they aren't spoken. The river is famous to the fish. The loud voice is famous to silence, which it knew would inherit the earth before anybody said so. The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds watching him from the birdhouse. The tear is famous briefly to the cheek. The idea you carry close to your bosom is famous to your bosom. The boot is famous to the earth, more famous than the dress shoe, which is famous only to floors. The bent photograph is famous to the one who carries it, and not at all famous to the one who is pictured. I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile while crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines, famous as the one who smiled back. I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole. Not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do. Beloveds, this morning we honor what we can do when we remember individually and collectively that capacity. We celebrate the ways we become famous to each other in community when we honor each other's divine humanity with simple, genuine expressions of love and care. The way that love scales to justice when we keep on practicing it. As we share our pains and our praises in this time of prayer, let us pay special attention to our gratitude for the ordinary acts of love among us. I'm holding gratitude for each of the people who found the courage to say yes to facilitating a small group or a class or a program this spring. Facilitators who held space for each other's transformation. We'll be honoring them after worship today with a special lunch, but I want to embarrass them just a bit now. If you help facilitate our programs this spring, will you please rise? Aha! Thank you, beloveds. Thank you for helping us build spaces where we know we are not alone, for holding us together. And as is now our custom, thanks to the wisdom of Dr. Glenn Thomas, after each naming, after each raising of a prayer, please join us to respond, "You are not alone. We are holding it together." The circle of sharing is now open in the sanctuary and in the chat online. That more people with privilege awaken to responsibility. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
That's my best friend John, who's visiting and in Mountain Weekend.
Fantastic. We are holding that joy. You are not alone. We are holding it together. Dr. Little Brother.
Be present at his dissertation and stand with him in the hall as he awaited his verdict. It was an honor.
For the joy of witnessing a beloved be honored for his process of becoming a doctor. You are not alone. We are holding it together. For Dr. Glenn Thomas's little sister who graduated from high school yesterday, you are not alone. We are holding it together.
For still being able to see joy and gratitude and thankfulness despite 3 challenging things that have occurred in my life.
For being able to hold joy amidst the challenges. You are not alone. We are holding it together. For the green beauty of our environment, for Marie lifting that up on the chat, you are not alone. We are holding it together. From Paul M., Odin, and Truman, holding friends and family going through cancer treatments and surgeries this week. Also close friends who just lost their father this morning after a long illness. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
For Cobalt and her family and friends, who was brutally attacked in school a few weeks ago in Hawkins.
For Cobalt and all our beautiful and holy trans and non-binary beloveds trying to find safety in basic dignity at school. You are not alone. We are holding it together. From Kathy online, for a young relative and her family, all are suffering from her mental illness and addiction struggle. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
For our neighbor Alex, who was shot in the Whittier shooting that occurred a couple of weeks ago. He's recovering in the hospital, and that's a wife and young daughter.
For Alex, who was shot in the Whittier neighborhood, and his family caring for him. You are not alone. We are holding it together. Care for Anne and Howard Hobbs and siblings David and Disa as we continue to mourn the death and celebrate the life of brother and son Corey Hobbs. Memorial service was held here yesterday, and our hearts are full of gratitude for Corey's life and for all who helped care for his family and friends yesterday at the memorial service and reception. For the Hobbs, you are not alone. We are holding it together. We hold Sarah Lindsay in our care as she and her family mourn the death of her father, Clem Tucker, who was killed in a car accident Memorial Day weekend. You are not alone. We are holding it together. We hold Bob Friedman and his family in our hearts as they mourn the sudden and unexpected death of Bob's brother last Friday at the age of 82. You are not alone. We are holding it together. We are holding our own Claire Trolley in gratitude for all the brilliant organizing she has done that brings us to the moment this Tuesday evening when the Minneapolis School Board is going to vote on the gender inclusion policy that includes protections for our trans and non-binary kids explicitly. Check in with me or Claire if you want to make some fierce love visible on Tuesday evening at that meeting. You are not alone. Thank you. We're holding it together. I was having a moment. Anything else where the joy would be magnified or the pain would feel lighter if you gave it to us to hold? Lisa.
The joy on Friday, I was able to celebrate my Tio Antonio's 100th birthday. With him was my Tio Francisco, who's 97, my Tia Raquel, who's the one from Washington, she's 93.
Oh my goodness. For all of your elders circling around 100, you are not alone. We are holding it together.
My grandfather, who is beside himself with grief after my grandmother died on Friday. Yeah, they were married for 73 years.
For your grandfather, after 73 years of marriage. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
Courage to try again and to soften and face some things that could. Her Jen shared a story about a wound that was left open to heal and how powerful it was then. Allowing those moments of trying again, the courage it takes to do it to allow us to step into that softness.
For the courage to try again, for the wisdom to step into new possibilities with softness. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
For all the brave Minneapolis public schools teachers that have 1 week left.
For all the Minneapolis public school teachers who have 1 week left. You are not alone. We are holding it together. For all that rests quietly and tenderly on your hearts, know that you are not alone. We are holding it together. And let us sing that togetherness now.
Oh
moment, the ushers will come forward to receive this morning's offering. And as we come to the part of our service dedicated to giving, let's take a moment to contemplate the depth and breadth of our offerings and what they mean. In just a moment, our ushers will assist in collecting today's offering as an act of communal support and shared hope, much like we practiced last week with our flower communion service. And as we add flowers of time, treasure, and heart, know that the gift is also ours to receive. We do this freely. Every contribution we make is a flower in the arrangement of our collective mission, whether it's maintaining the welcoming space we share, empowering the diligent hands that organize our programs, or reaching out to support broader community initiatives. Each donation helps weave stronger community together. Today, your generosity goes to support Queer Prom, an all generations prom event. Yeah. This is an all generations prom event celebrating and expanding love and liberation through dance and music and fabulousness. And every dollar of our donation amplifies our capacity to touch lives both within and outside of our walls. For those amongst us feeling the pinch of hard times, we remember this community is here for you. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of the staff at this church for help as we prepare to listen and assist, because no one here should feel that they're alone in their hardship. We carry it together. The ushers will now receive this morning's offering. Thank you in advance for your gifts, which reflect the spirit and commitment of this vibrant community.
Our reading this morning is the poem Courage by Anne Sexton. It is in the small things we see it. The child's first step, as awesome as an earthquake. The first time you rode a bike wallowing up the sidewalk. The first spanking when your heart went on a journey all alone. When they called you crybaby or poor or fatty or crazy and made you into an alien, you drank their acid and concealed it. Later, if you faced the death of bombs and bullets, you did not do it with a banner. You did it with only a hat to cover your heart. You did not fondle the weakness inside you, though it was there. Your courage was a small coal that you kept swallowing. If your buddy saved you and died himself in so doing, then his courage was not courage, it was love. Love as simple as shaving soap. Later, if you endured a great despair, then you did it alone, getting a transfusion from the fire, picking the scabs off your heart, then wringing it out like a sock. Next, my kinsman, you powdered your sorrow. You gave it a back rub, and then you covered it with a blanket, and after it had slept a while, it woke to the wings of the roses and was transformed. Later, when you face old age and its natural conclusion, your courage will still be shown in the little ways. Each spring will be a sword you'll sharpen. Those you love will live in a fever of love, and you'll bargain with the calendar, and at the last moment when death opens the back door, you'll put on your carpet slippers and stride out.
If I can help somebody as I travel along, if I can help somebody with a word or song, if I can help somebody from doing wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. If I can help somebody as I'm singing this song, then my living shall not be in vain.
Last week, when we gathered here, we told the story of the Reverend Norbert Čapek, the minister of the Unitarian congregation in Prague, who created the flower ceremony in 1923. And we can see him now. Back in 1923, still years before World War II would break out, Čapek created a ritual that could speak across language, across culture, across religion, as each individual brought a flower to the shared altar, created a larger and more vibrant beauty than any one of them could alone, and then took a different flower home. The ritual born in that city, in that congregation that experienced a great diversity of thought and faith, it taught us and them without words that each and every person is worthy of life, of dignity, of care and respect, that each and every one of us bring our gifts to the shared altar of humanity and community, that we give and receive together, and that we carry each other in our hearts wherever we are. This was the ground in which the Sharps, who we heard about earlier, arrived into Prague. It was that Unitarian congregation, that Unitarian minister, that Reverend Waitstill and Martha Sharp traveled to in 1939. It was that Unitarian community at home and abroad that named and knew each human being as whole and holy and worthy, welcome and wanted in the world. This was the ground of their shared faith, and it moved them beyond words and prayer to action, changing the lives of thousands. Now, I don't know their exact words and thoughts, the Sharps in particular. I don't know exactly what inspired them that felt as plain as day, but I know that the truth was simple for them, even in a complicated time. Each person deserves life, deserves dignity, is worthy of respect. Each of us must stand in mutual solidarity. We just did what any ordinary person would do, they've said. We just did what any ordinary person would do. This phrase has had its hold on me. I hope it has a hold on you too now. And I wonder, how might we make it true that what they did might be what any ordinary person would do? This question led me on some further travels, so I'll take you with me on them. If we head further into Europe in that time and place, if we head to the town of Le Chambon-sur-Lignon from December 1940 to September 1944, the inhabitants of that French village of Le Chambon-sur-Lignon and the villages on the surrounding plateau, they all worked together to provide refuge for an estimated 5,000 people. The residents of those villages and farms, they offered shelter in private homes, in hotels, on their farms, in their schools. Each of them, ordinary people, they forged identification and ration cards for refugees. Sometimes they guided them over the border to neutral Switzerland. These actions of rescue were unusual in the time because everyone in the villages was involved. They were doing it together. It was, in fact, what every ordinary person was doing in that time and place. I wondered what we could learn, what I could learn, what we could learn together about this experience. Well, this town, Chambon-sur-Lignon, it's remote. It's a place where winters are hard and people had a practice of helping each other. For farmers, you know what I'm talking about. This way that you rely on one another when you are all there is out there. For us folks in the city, maybe you can imagine with me the harsh winters we experience and the way that suddenly people who never talk to each other are out there stopping their cars, pushing each other out of the snowbanks, right? There was a tradition of hospitality in this town, of welcoming the oppressed. You see, they too knew what it was like. Many of their own ancestors were the Huguenots, once persecuted as a Protestant minority. The people in that village knew what it was like to be treated as less than human. So when their government and Nazi invaders declared Jews as less than human, as people to be discriminated against, well, the folks in that village knew it simply wasn't true. Each and every person was whole and holy and worthy of life and freedom and dignity. There in that village, there was a railroad that came through, and it had largely been used for agricultural products for years. But in this time, it began transporting people, some known about, many in hiding. And when those Jewish refugees arrived in their town in 1940, the people already knew what to do because they'd been practicing for generations. They welcomed them. They helped them. The pastor there and his wife, Pastor Andre and his wife Magna Trachme, they were pacifists. They practiced nonviolence. They thought resistance should be through civil disobedience, and they took clear positions and did not try to evade the problems of the day. They followed what for them was the old Christian tradition of offering refuge to the persecuted. The pastor said, "We have to fight, but we have to fight with weapons of the Spirit." When orders came for all the churches to ring their bells to celebrate the ruler of unoccupied France who persecuted the Jews, the pastor and the elders of the church refused. When Jews arrived on the train late at night or in the wee hours of the morning, they'd go to the local hotel or the pastor's house, to a school. They'd be given a safe place to sleep, some food, and then whisked off through an informal network of neighbors to the villages and the farms out on the plateau. Pastor Trachme's wife, Magna, said it like this: "It would be late at night, and I would open the door, and there would be somebody cold and hungry and tired and very afraid, and I would welcome them in. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. We did not question, where did you come from? Are you Jewish or not? We did not dig. They were there, and they were part of the community now. We were not being heroic. We were doing what was the right thing to do. Doing this gave us our faith back in humanity." As the war continued, raids of the village and the farms and the schools began to happen with greater frequency as folks were coming, searching for those Jewish children in particular in hiding. The teachers in the schools would be asked to provide a list of Jewish students to the guards searching, but they refused. I can't help but think of our teachers today. The teacher said, "Sorry, we didn't ask. We don't know who is Jewish or who is not, so we can't tell you." Besides, they would say, "We don't know Jews. We only know human beings." Let's see some pictures of those children. We've got 3 of them. You can keep going. Thank you. Like the Sharps, the people in those villages, they were engaging in nonviolent resistance. They put their faith, their everyday bedrock beliefs that each and every person is whole and holy and worthy, welcome and wanted, deserving of life and freedom. They put those beliefs into action. And when that village of Le Chambon-sur-Lignon was awarded the distinction of righteous among nations in 1990, they didn't see themselves as heroes. "We are ordinary people," they said. "We just did what had to be done. We didn't ask. We don't know Jew and non-Jew. We know only human beings. We have an obligation to offer refuge, to make people feel welcome, to build them back up, to convey hope," they said, "to offer care." These stories have been traveling with me. And I share them today, not to make any of us feel bad that we haven't yet been named righteous among nations. It's probably not going to happen, and is never really the point, just to be clear. So I'm not offering these stories so we can feel bad about ourselves for what we haven't done or haven't done yet. And I'm also not telling us these stories today so we can feel good about what some other people did and hold them up on a pedestal and leave it at that. I'm sharing these stories so that we can wrestle together, asking in times not so different than those I'm speaking about. What might we do and be now? And what might guide us? What might guard us? What might ground us in our faith and in our action? How might we make it true that what the Čapeks and the Sharps and the villagers and farmers on the plateau there in France might actually be what any ordinary person would do? Now, I've gotten a head start with some of these questions, so I'll offer you a couple of my thoughts and observations, and I welcome yours too. When I look at these stories all together, when I look at the Čapeks and the Sharps and the villagers and farmers, when they say they were only doing what ordinary people would do, I don't think it's because they're being humble. I think they are actually describing a core part of what gave them their power. They didn't see themselves as saviors or heroes. They also didn't see themselves as any different, except by circumstance, than the people they were helping and guiding. In both directions, they eliminated the distance between them. They eliminated the distance between hero and person in need of care and help. I think sometimes when we are putting our attention on the distance between ourselves and others, our focus is in the wrong direction. I'm not saying we should ignore the differences among us and the differences in our lived experiences. I'm saying that we also must remember the shared humanity that is there. In all of these scenarios, from Čapek to the Sharps to Pastor Andre Trachme and his wife Magna, to all those people on the plateau, they didn't see themselves as any different from the people being persecuted. They recognized the differences of culture and faith and language, yes, and they did not try to wash them away. And they saw each and every person as worthy of humanity, dignity, respect, and care. All of them were ordinary people. These ordinary people who took extraordinary actions in those times and places, they were grounded in two things, I think: in faith and in community. Their faith grounded them with clear and simple statements, everyday kinds of statements. We have to fight, but we have to fight with weapons of the Spirit. We don't see Jews, we only see human beings. Doing the right thing gave us our faith back in humanity. Each and every person is worthy of life and dignity and care. All of us bring gifts to the altar of our shared life and our community. In community, we give and receive together, learning to carry each other's hearts in our own. We just do what any ordinary person would do. If you take these statements of faith and then you add the power of community, if you add in all of the people in these stories, the person on the line calling the Sharps, asking them to help, the folks in their congregation, their friends who offered to care for their children, each and every person they ran into on their rescue missions, the ones who decided to turn away, the guards who allowed people to pass, the folks who falsified documents, the people who brought food and aid, each of them are part of this story. Each of them in community literally encouraged each other. In community, we bring courage to each other. We provide community where this is just how it is, where we lift up the value and dignity, the humanity of each and every person, and then we make it so. In communities like this, in the Universalist spirit of love and hope, we do this together, remembering the stories of our ancestors and calling them in to guide us. We strengthen ourselves through song and story and care, through spiritual practice, as we've done together today. We do this so we can carry that encouragement, that faith, that collective power out through our days and through our weeks. Cole Arthur Riley, a Black woman who is the author of the book Black Liturgies, has done some writing that I think can inform us today. Now, I invite you to imagine the particular reality that Riley is writing and living within, and to honor it, especially if it is different than your own. A Black woman writing communal Black spiritual practices. And I invite us in to learn and grow in mutual respect and solidarity. She offered up this practice. She said, when we breathe in, Let us allow our souls to be disturbed. When we breathe out, we say, because they are still intact. Let's try this together. Breathing in, we allow our souls to be disturbed. Breathing out, because they are still intact. Breathing in, we remember that we do what we can. Breathing out with the power we have. Let's do this together. Breathing in, we allow our souls to be disturbed. Breathing out, because they are still intact. Breathing in, we remember we do what we can. Breathing out with the power that we have. She asks people to consider, what power do you have that you are not currently exercising? She asks, what is one tangible act of advocacy and solidarity that you can do today with the power that you have? How might you distinguish, she asks, deliberate obliviousness and escapism from real rest and repair? It's different for each of us, of course. Different for each of us what courage looks like and feels like right now in our lives with the power we have, with our very real needs for rest and repair. But I've been wondering, what power do we have that we are not currently exercising? What one tangible thing might we do today? What act of advocacy or solidarity can we do with the power that we have? Let me offer just a couple possibilities for you to consider. Right now, the conflict we are witnessing between Israelis and Palestinians is one of the most pressing moral and spiritual issues of our times. The religious and cultural and ethnic and racial power dynamics have been so devastating for so many. The complexity, the grief, the fear, the uncertainty, the challenge of the crisis has led me at times in our faith to move away from engagement rather than toward it. But in this time with intensifying anti-Semitism, with the grief and anger and fear of the October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas, with the death of over 1,200 Jews and the abduction of hundreds of others, with the Israeli government's response and attacks on Gaza, killing not just members of Hamas, but Palestinian civilians and children and aid workers, creating a refugee crisis and widespread starvation and inability to access basic human needs and care. I must be disturbed. We must be disturbed. So I invite you into the learning with me. I invite you into the learning that our Unitarian Universalist congregations are doing, and to exploring and learning more about the action of immediate witness that's being proposed at this year's Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly. I invite you to join me in calling for an end to anti-Semitism, the return of the hostages, and a ceasefire in Gaza. If you want to learn more about the action of immediate witness, you can do that here. There are so many ways to be involved. With democracy on the line in this country, with disinformation and degrading of ethics on the highest court in the land, join our UU the Vote efforts that you will hear about just about every week. With increased attacks politically and personally on trans and non-binary people, including, as we heard, right here at Hopkins High School in Minnetonka, where a student was badly injured after using the boys' bathroom when the gender-inclusive restroom was occupied. Join us. Tuesday night, June 11th, there's a slide for this too. Join us at the Minneapolis School Board meeting, where they'll be voting on whether to have a gender inclusion policy or not. Come together. Invite a friend. Show up. We need as many people as possible to be there to support this effort. And maybe policy and politics isn't your thing right now for all kinds of good reasons. Maybe you prefer to get your hands dirty and see the immediate results of your action and work side by side with others. If that's the case for you, maybe you want to join some fellow First Universalist folks working with Habitat for Humanity. Let's see that. We have some build days coming up. I hope you'll consider joining in to be part of building houses with families in need of a safe and steady place to call home. We've got a build day next week, or this week, Tuesday, June 11th, and also on July 26th. You can head downstairs to the social hall afterwards to sign up and to talk more with folks who are there each and every time. Who might you be in the stories that we heard today? Who might I be? What ways might we be those ordinary people showing kindness and care? What ways might we be lifting up what we know to be true? That each and every person is whole and holy, worthy and wanted and welcome. We are today's ordinary people. When we act in the Universalist spirit of love and hope, I know we can do extraordinary things. May it be so. May we make it so. Amen.
Let's rise. Let's sing. We are
Join us right back here next week, 10 o'clock on Sunday. I lift this up because the 2 weeks after that, it's going to be a little different. Next week, here, Sunday, 10 a.m. The week after that, we'll be joining with 4 other congregations. This is June 23rd to experience together the service at the General Assembly. Join us at the Riverview Theater on the 23rd at 10 a.m. as we gather together. Then on the 30th, we'll be celebrating Pride, and we'll gather here at 10 a.m. for a quick glitter blessing. And then we will head together, if you like, in groups with free bus passes to the parade. You can go on bikes together, you can travel together by bus, however you wish. But no, these are 2 opportunities for us to be together in the coming weeks. Friends, we are today's ordinary people. Ordinary people encouraged by one another to make it so that each and every person might live with freedom and dignity and care. May we make it so. Amen.
my friends. Amen.